Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Hit like buttons. Make sure you're subscribing. Lots to talk about with you today. Man United players stunned, shocked the lot, according to the mainstream media, by Ruben Amorim. We're looking at UEFA's rules and how they're going to hit Chelsea hard. A really interesting article today about their FFP problems, the big fine they have faced, but how there's an element of the ruling that has maybe gone a little bit unnoticed in many ways. And how much could this impact Chelsea moving forward? I think it's important to discuss this. It isn't really getting the airtime I think it deserves elsewhere. Some of it, I think, Chelsea fans should be a little concerned with. Other elements, I think, are being over-egged, and we're going to go through that. Plus, Amorim versus Mainoo. This rears its head again. Another story, a post on social media by Mainoo. Is it innocent? Listen, we're going to delve into it. We're going to speak about it in more detail on the Football Terrace this morning, or this afternoon, I should say. It's gone midday here in the UK. But do me a big favor before we go any further and like the stream, if you haven't done so already. Get yourself subscribing to the channel and make sure that bell notification is turned on so you know when we go live, you know when we're uploading new content. We're obviously live now. We're going to be live again later today after the England game as well. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But I wanted to start off with Manchester United, if I'm being honest with you. I wanted to start off with this story that I read this morning. So I didn't actually, I normally read the papers most mornings, and I didn't today. I took my son football. My daughter came with me. It was a nice little morning. And I got home and I was like, I'm going to go live a little bit later today. I'm going to sit down, have some breakfast, read what's going on. And the first headline that was shown to me by Google read as thus: Ruben Amorim's transfer decision that left Man United players shocked. Oh, God. What's he done? What has Ruben done to these poor football players? And it's one of these things where you read a headline like that and it sounds so shocking. It sounds so massive, so huge. The lead headline, by the way, on the Daily Mail, which is the biggest and most read newspaper in the UK, and I think the third most read newspaper in the world. Okay, so just put that, when it comes to sport, I'm saying, put this into context. Their main headline this morning: Ruben Amorim's transfer decision that left Man United players shocked. I thought, oh my God, what's he done? Let me get a cup of tea. I was like, oh, let me get a cup of tea. I can't read this. I can't read it. What now? What monstrosity, what abomination are we dealing with this morning? It doesn't rain, it pours. What am I going to read? I'm even nervous to read it again now in case it's changed. You ever watched a film? Rocky IV does this to me. Every time Apollo Creed fights Ivan Drago, I strangely pray for a different outcome. And I get, no, what if it doesn't happen? You ever watch a penalty shootout back that your team wins? Every time I watch Man United Chelsea penalty shootout 2008, I think we're going to lose it. The articles like this do it to me. I think, oh no, what if the article changes by the time I read it again? Absolutely nonsensical, no logic to it whatsoever. Fear. So this big headline got me worried. This big headline dragged me in. And then I read it. And the first line of the article reads: Ruben Amorim's decision to force Rasmus Højlund out of Man United left the squad shocked, according to one of their stars. First thing I did was laugh, right? I don't dislike Rasmus Højlund. Why the squad shocked? On what planet are this squad living on where they went, I totally didn't see Rasmus being replaced? Are they going to say they're shocked that Onana isn't here anymore if he goes in the next few days? What are we talking about here? Patrick Dorgu is the guy that said it. He's compatriot, to be fair. He says that Patrick Dorgu, his teammate for United in Denmark, said via, I can't pronounce the name of that TV company or media outlet, that's how it is in football. You never know when your turn is to move on. We knew that it would happen with Christian Eriksen, but it was perhaps a bigger shock that Rasmus Højlund had moved on. I talked to him a lot during the process and could sense which way it was going. And what's really funny, though, he didn't say they were like completely shocked. He said it was perhaps a bigger shock. which is very different to the headline. And this is a moment for Man United fans to, again, read the articles, read the body of work, and there's a sensationalism within that. And what will happen for a lot of people is there'll be this element where you'll go, Ruben's pissed the dressing room off again. Some people may not even read beyond the first paragraph, because the first paragraph is Ruben's decision to force Rasmus out of the club left the squad shocked. Now, according to one of their stars. Now, even the way that first line reads, Dorgu didn't say that Ruben forced him out, and Dorgu didn't say they were all shocked. He said it was a bigger shock that Rasmus went. They knew that, for him, he knew that Eriksson would go, talking about his compatriots. What he didn't say is Ruben forced him out, and the whole team were shocked. The headline says left Man United's players shocked. And look, they'll claim it's absolutely okay to do this, and it's fine. Listen, headlines are headlines. They're there to draw you in. But this is more of a message to the fans that will read this and say, oh my God, Ruben's falling out with more and more of the squad. Absolutely crazy to me. Absolutely crazy on every single level. And this is where I don't think it matters if you love Ruben or hate Ruben. This is where I feel Manchester United fans have to be together. This is where I think Manchester United fans have to pull in the right direction. And that is knowing that I would say 80% of the articles, 80% of the news stories that have been produced that are pushed out against Manchester United, they are not there for you or I. They are not there for us to be informed. They're there to piss us off. They're there to put us in a bad mood. And even when you read the body of work, you're like, well, okay, well, that doesn't... Does the article make you feel different compared to the catch line? If it does, then again, well done for reading. You probably deserve a star in the modern day world because most people don't do it. But they're not putting these articles out there to help us. They're putting these articles out there to stir up trouble. Because what this article will do is for people that hate on Ruben Amorim, it'll be another notch in the bedpost to say he's got to go. For people that never blame the managers for anything and think it's all the players, they'll say bloody players moaning again, ridiculous. Rasmus wasn't very good. It's like it's part of the kind of attempt by the media to perpetuate this civil war. And United fans are emotional. United fans are frustrated. United fans want to see our team improve. Of course we do. But we have to be very, very careful. We saw it in the summer. The links to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, the links to Ndidi, the links to who was the other strike? Callum Wilson. Everyone was losing their mind. The stories that Rasmus would be staying, everyone losing their mind. Stories that Onana was still the number one goalkeeper, everybody losing their minds. When it was reported the bomb squad were coming back to training, oh my God, the manager's a cuck. I can't believe he's letting them come back. So many negative stories that were written that never came to fruition, that ended up being very little truth in them. And yet United fans, depending upon your disposition or your feeling toward the manager, the owners, the players, it led to a crazy reaction. I think sometimes just put your club first over your emotions for a moment. Be a little bit more objective. Maybe wait to see the wood for the trees. Maybe even not even waiting. Just read the bloody article. Absolutely nothing to see here whatsoever, in my personal opinion. And I wanted to draw attention to this and lay it down because it's an absolute disgrace. And again, if I was Manchester United, I'd be looking at the likes of Luke Power, who wrote this, and I'd be writing to the Daily Mail. And look, I'm all for freedom of speech, but I'm not for lies. I'm not for the misrepresentation of what somebody is being told. We saw Sky Sports do it to David Raya a few days ago. I have the same energy. I've called out Alan Shearer this week for what he said about Alexander Isak. I just don't think this is helpful. Videos dropping on Terry Fleur's TV later today about the abomination, the lies that are being spoken about with Man United spending on Sir Alex Ferguson. I'm sick and tired of the mainstream allowing these lies to be put out there and they're not correcting anybody. It's crazy. This is their jobs. As fans, I kind of get why a fan might misread this. Maybe sees a headline, maybe hears somebody else talking about it and gets angry. I do kind of get it. But they shouldn't even be putting it out there. It shouldn't even be a story. It should be the headline should be Dorgu's gonna miss Hoyland. That's about the length and the breadth of this. Let's see what your comments are saying here. Let's go to them if they're coming through. Are they coming through on my screen? I'm not too sure if they are yet. Get that like button hit if you haven't done so already. We've got some Chelsea news coming as well. Plus, we're talking Mainoo versus Amorim as well. Let's go to some of your comments here. What rules? We'll get onto the rules a bit later. Don't worry about the ruling. We'll get onto it a little bit later for you. Okay, we'll definitely be bringing that up. No need to worry. Are they coming through the comments? I don't know if they are. Sometimes they come through, sometimes they don't. Let me just refresh. Yeah, there we go. They're coming through now. This here says, Mikey says, shocked because how they actually got 3 points last time. Dino says, Luke is stirring up shit. No, I agree with you. I think that he is, bro. At least this here says, players must be shocked how limited Ruben Amorim is. That would make more of a headline. That would make maybe a little bit more sense. The mainstream media really struggles now. United are making better decisions, is what Red Devil United says. Listen, if Man United actually start to improve, I don't know how these guys are going to pay their bills. I really, really don't. You need to go on the overlap, Terry. I want to say this with the utmost respect to everybody that goes on it. It's not for me. It's not a show for me to be on. I don't think they'd ever have me on there because I couldn't toe the party line. I see things said about Manchester United and it makes my blood boil. TalkSport yesterday, I saw a clip of Danny Murphy stating that Manchester United just broke transfer records all the time, outspent everybody in Fergie's era. And the amount of City fans, Liverpool fans, jump, yeah, right, that's correct. Well, Fergie did break 4 or 5 transfer records. That is absolutely true. But in the first decade of the Premier League, Man United were not even were 10th in overall spending. It was only between, I think, 02 and 04 that Man United, for that 2-year period, were the biggest spenders in the league. In the first 10, 11 years of the league, United were 10th. We had 2 years top, and then we were 4th for the remaining time of Fergie's career. And it's painful to hear. It's not painful to hear rivals say these things. It's painful for these things to be said on shows like The Overlap with the budget and the footballing people on there. Paul Scholes sitting there, and they just ignore it and let it be said. It's absolutely ridiculous. So, yeah, the show isn't for me. The show isn't for me. They'd have me on once, and then they would get rid of me. They would never have me back on again. They wouldn't want me speaking sense on there. Ashley says the media needs a reality check and start spitting the truth. Listen, I know you called out the Newcastle media all summer for exactly the same thing. There needs to be a little bit of balance in the way they're reporting here. It's absolutely crazy, in my humble opinion. It really is. But what of the situation with Kobbie Mainoo? Because the Kobbie Mainoo situation also sort of got a lot of people talking yesterday. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't watched the film Whiplash. So when I saw that he posted, I did see this on his Instagram, that he posted a picture of, I don't even remember the actor's name. We all know the actor, but in Whiplash, it's a film about a drummer. But I know very, very little about it. But Mainoo posted a picture, and of course, Cole Palmer has appeared to back Mainoo, and I think he wrote "Free my boy." I think his reply was "Free my boy." I don't quite get it. And what I did read from Nash Salt is that Kobbie Mainoo sharing a picture from the movie Whiplash, which in one aspect is about a rising star that can never seem to satisfy his mentor or coach. Can I ask a question? And I'd like an honest answer, but it's probably going to ruin the movie for me. Does the drummer eventually please and satisfy his coach and mentor? What's the end result? Can someone tell me for a moment? Because I don't know why. Something about that movie, I've never wanted to watch it. And I don't just want to watch it so I can understand the context here. He does. Hang on. Yes. Yes. No. Does he or does he not? Let's be honest in the comment section. Kinda. Yes, he does. Interpretation. Coach is fired. Come on. Who else has watched it? Just tell me honestly. Yes, he does. Brilliant movie. Okay. So this is where, again, and yes, I've titled it Mainoo versus Amorim because that is how it's being framed everywhere. And I wanted to discuss it because I feel I haven't seen the movie. So again, I didn't give a shit. When I first saw the post, I I don't know what I thought it was. But I started seeing people say these words. In one aspect, it's about a rising star who can never seem to satisfy his manager or coach. And I was like, oh, hang on. Wait. I was like, hang on a minute. Is he saying that nothing I do can please Amorim? Is it a coded message to say, get me out? Reportedly, Palmer has responded. In fact, let me check. As Palmer actually responded? Because sometimes people like edit these, don't they? Let me find Mainoo's account. Mainoo. Oh, I think he has posted it. No, there's no post. Has he deleted the post? Okay, it is there. It's part of his I'm gonna like it. It's him training, right? Free my boy. He did actually write it. It's a real comment, to be fair. I can see it now. Fair. I only wanted to check because sometimes people edit those things. Okay. But when people then frame it as, in one aspect, it's about a rising star that can never seem to satisfy his coach. Interesting. Why would Nathan Salt not present the outcome of the movie? Why would you not do that? Why would, again, someone who hasn't watched the film, somebody that maybe doesn't understand the context of the post, could it not mean that he is going to work his backside off and fight until his coach is pleased and happy? Just putting it out there. Just putting it out there. And that's the bit for me, again, about manipulation. I'm not really worried about what Palmer has said. I'm not angry with it. I'm not happy with it. It's inconsequential to me. But when I see this again framed as this is loads of pictures of him training hard, coupled with a picture from the film, which I understand is about a rising star that could never seem to satisfy his mentor or coach. But what you're all telling me is that in the end, his coach was happy with him. And by the way, high-level coaches and mentors are never actually fully satisfied. Have you ever watched the 99 documentary with Man United? And I'll use United as an example because we're talking about a United player. Man United completed the treble, the most historic season in English football history. I think the only time it will ever be surpassed will be if a team does the quad. I don't think it matters if Man United do a treble again. If anyone else does a treble, it was the first time, and the first time is always, the most special. For instance, the person that broke the 4-minute mile is more famous than the people that are getting better times than him now. The Wright brothers are more famous for plane aviation than the amazing aeroplanes that are made today because they did it first. And I think, these things are so, so important. They really, really are. So I'll just send them a message here. It's one of those things. No, but it is. It's when things are done for the first time, they're always more special. No, and I believe that. Anyway, in that documentary, it's a great story from what was his name? Not Steve Parish. Who's Steve Parish? Not Coppell either. Why can't I remember? McLaren. McLaren said that they had this big party. They were loving it. They had this talk. They went on the parade. And I'm going to get this slightly wrong in terms of location, but he said we got back to the car park where our cars were. And we're leaving. And Fergie turned around and just said, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m., be at the Cliff, which is our old training ground. Preparation for next season begins. Which, again, you could interpret that as, no, is he not happy? Just want a treble. Relax for a few days, will you? That's how a lot of coaches are. It's always get on to the next one. So, but my point is about the media here again. It's just one of these things for me where I think to myself, is it really a dig? Lou here says, sometimes the obvious answer is right. Yes, Akam Drazer. It was clearly a message from Mainoo, and we have criticized other young players for putting out messages via their socials. Mainoo is not immune. Listen, I agree with that, but I need to understand what his meaning is. So when Paul Pogba put out that post minutes after Jose was sacked, for me, it was an obvious dig. It just felt obvious. But this is the kind of movie post where I'll give you an example. If Kobbie Mainoo, Lou, posted, I'm a Rocky fanatic. There's an amazing scene in Rocky 1 where Rocky has just landed the fight against Apollo Creed. And Mick turns up to his house. Basically, he gives him a bit of a sob story. He talks about his prime and asks Rocky to be his coach. Now, contextually speaking, earlier in the film, before Rocky gets this chance, he's put onto Skid Row, which means in the boxing gym, Mickey, the coach, takes his locker away and puts all these belongings in a bag on a peg. And they call it Skid Row in the film. And him and Rocky have a falling out. Literally from that point, Mickey said, okay, as well, as much as you're a bum and you're gone, the heavyweight champs, people are looking for you. And they all assumed they were going to ask him to do some sparring with Apollo Creed. Gets a fight, and then Mickey's asking to be the coach. Now, in that moment, Rocky says no to him, kicks off, doesn't fight him, but fights back, shouts at him, punches the wall, gets angry, saying like, Mick, you only care now because I got a shot. You didn't care earlier today when you put me in Skid Row and you thought I was a bum. If Corey posted that part of a video, you'd all go, oh, look, he hates his coach. But actually, he lets Mickey coach him and they become very, very close and there's great success. I can apply it. It's easy for me to break down that example, Lou, because I understand the context of the Rocky movie compared to Whiplash because I haven't watched it. But I'm literally seeing people say that him and his coach get on and him and his coach eventually was satisfied with him, but he put him through hell to get him to the high. That you could interpret it as, again, I haven't seen the movies, that's hard. His coach was never satisfied until he reached his pinnacle and then he was happy with what he did. And maybe this is the case of Ruben saying, I'm not going to get off your neck, Cobby, until you reach your full potential. This happens in schools, Lou, all the time. Kids that are brighter and smarter often get a harsher ride sometimes than the naughty kids or the sillier kids because the teachers see their potential and want to push them to not underachieve. So, because, again, it's a hard. I'm going to have to watch the movie now to understand it. But again, I do think this is the media. Just as someone here says mental gymnastics, it's not about mental gymnastics. It's about, people can say pure cope mental gymnastics. That's not an argument. I don't understand the movie context, but I'm literally seeing from some of you, the coach was satisfied in the end. The coach pushed him to the highest level. The coach got the best out of him, but had to do it a certain way. Well, why does it necessarily mean that there's nothing he can do to impress Ruben Amorim? Why is everybody saying that it might be the outcome, but why are the media only presenting one side of that argument? I find that, again, very disconcerting as a football fan. One side of the argument being presented. But look, I love your views. I love your opinions on it. I'm giving you mine. I have to watch the movie now to make it more sense. Richard here says, Ruben Amorim doesn't hire a protective PR company. The United stand will jump on any criticism of him. Criticizing the ownership doesn't negate the obsession here on protecting anything Ruben does. I mean, I've seen people on the United stand criticize Ruben Amorim, so I don't really understand what you're talking about. Hope United keep Amorim is what Matt says here. Yeah, of course you do. Gads here with the super chat says, in the movie, the coach tried to destroy his career. Oh, okay. Is that okay? Cool. I haven't seen this one. I don't understand the context. He tried to destroy his career, but then everyone said that the coach ended up being really happy with him in the end. And isn't it about how the movie ends rather than what happened in the middle? Again, I'm going to have to watch it. This here says, what a simple-minded hypocrite Terry is. Well, tell me how. You can't just say make an accusation and not back it with any evidence. I'm willing to have a conversation and a debate with you, but you've got to back up what you're saying with something. My take, in Whiplash, the coach saw him what he didn't see in himself. Coach process was brutal, but the outcome was that the student has reached heights he never could have. And again, this is why it's worth a conversation, because I haven't seen the film, so it's very hard for me to comment on the meaning of the post. You might find 3 or 4. For instance, when I watch Harry Potter, that's not a movie about magic. It's a movie about love and friendship. When I watch Interstellar, what are you going to say? What's it about? Time travel? Space? Science? No. It's about the love that a father has for his daughter. That, for me, is the entire concept of the movie, is about the love that fathers had for their daughters. That was the biggest message I took. Forget the science fiction, forget the aliens, sort of aliens, it's really the humans. Forget the black hole, the time travel, forget what we learned in the movie. It was all about a father's love for his daughter. Every single part of it. And that's why these things are worth conversations, because I do agree in Occam's razor in a lot of things. The simple and most obvious answer is normally the truth. But the issue that you have with using Occam's razor is when the truth is subjective. And the meaning of a movie, a perception of its outcome, that behavior was right because it got the person to the best. That behavior was wrong because it could have destroyed them. Depending upon your subjectivity and your interpretation of the film that's now being referenced, Occam's razor is going to take you to a different place. This is why what you need is a conversation and debate and understanding. But equally, what the media wants to do is just throw fuel over a fire and go, it's a war! When maybe it isn't. Maybe it is. Maybe this is Cobby saying, I hate this. Maybe this is Cobby saying, I'm going to embrace this. It's at least worth a conversation. Truth is never subjective. It absolutely is. With the example I just gave you. If somebody quotes Rocky as a reference point to how they're feeling, if you and me interpret the film of Rocky in a different way, what we believe that message means, so what we believe the truth of that message is, will be subjective. Stop being stupid, Twisted Bubba, and use the brains that you were born with. Jesus Christ. Truth is never objective. It's never subjective. It is in that context. It is in that context. Honestly, some people are crazy. The image from Mainoo is when the students started off the movie trying to reach perfection when drumming caused bleeding fingers. And that's before even meeting the coach for the first time. Again, look at that. Truth is never subjective. I didn't know that. Now I do. And he's posted it amongst him putting in training videos. So maybe, just maybe, if you look at when that was from in the film, maybe he's just saying, I'm going to work my fingers to the bone, metaphorically, to get into this Man United team. Maybe it has nothing to do with the coach. You know what I'm saying? What if you post a picture of Apollo, Creed, and Rocky training together? Is he suggesting that Amorim's going to die because he does in the movie? Sorry if you haven't seen the film. Come on. There's only one answer. There ain't. We don't know. Relax a little bit. You're mixing up opinions and truth. No, I'm not. Because it's what has the writer of that movie said it was about? So, for instance, I suppose J.K. Rowling may not say that, no, she wants to say, Terry, you're an idiot. It's all about the wizarding world. I didn't write that film about friendship and love, but that's my interpretation of it. So, again, is Cobby posting that picture because he's using the writer of the movie's depiction of what the film's about, or is he doing his own? How many of you think about movies and songs and art and go, I'm only going to view that piece of art, that movie, based on what the writer of the movie said it was about? You can sometimes have 3 or 4 different actors that have all acted in that film that view it in a different way. So when you say you're confusing opinion with truth, I'm not. Not at all. The complete opposite. But there we go. Yeah, R.I.P. Carl Weathers, legend, man. So many people from the Rocky franchise are gone now. It makes me sad. Same as the Harry Potter movies. So many of those actors and actresses, even the younger ones, you know, so many have passed on in the last 10, 15 years. It's very, very sad. Great movies, though. Great movies. Gaz here says that in his situation, whose posts like that in supports happiness, it doesn't happen. When stuff like this is posted, it is revolt, as he isn't happy and wanted alone. You could be right, but is that you? Again, this is the objective. This is the subjectivity. That's you thinking about it, maybe from your perspective, how you feel about these things. Lots of people post things when they're happy, or they're determined, or they're motivated, or they're going to prove someone wrong. You are trying to frame this in a good way. I get it, but do you honestly think Mainoo talks to Palmer? If so, why did Palmer say free my boy? Palmer might think he deserves to play. Palmer might think that he deserves to be in the England squad. Palmer might think Ruben should play him more and he's having a pop at him. Yes. And I'm not trying to frame it in a good way. Again, you're misinterpreting my words. I'm asking questions. I want to know, again, but what I'm not going to do as a Man United fan is side with the media that are trying to cause a fight. I'm going to have a conversation about it. We're just going to, my friend. In the most respectful way possible. The only educated people understand what Cobby meant by this post. I'm with you, Terry. Cobby gets it now. And we'll see. I think we'll get an answer. If he works his way into the first team, starts playing more regularly, takes what the manager has said on board and goes and kills it, then we'll come back to this. If he barely kicks a ball, no matter what's going on, I'll side with him. But there we go. Do a Google search of the movie, Terry. I'm going to watch the movie rather than Google search it. I want to watch it and see. A lot of you told me it's a good film. So yeah, I'm definitely going to go and watch that, DJ. I'm going to. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by the movie now. It's got me thinking. Maybe I should go and give it a little watch, because you guys seem to think it's very, very good. And I do like a good film. I do like a good movie. I think most people do, to be fair. But no, not everyone does. I've got friends that don't like films, but film. I love film at school. I did media and film studies at school. Loved it. Loved it. Right? Because everyone knows footballers are the most educated people in the world. Pure waffle. Maybe. Terry, sorry, mate. Your clever words ain't going to work here. It's very obvious he didn't get his loan and is now sulking. It's blatant. Obvious he wants out. Why is he posting pictures of himself training then? Just answer me that question directly. Why is he posting pictures of himself training? What does that mean? What does that represent in this moment? What does that mean? Just want your interpretation of that. I'm taking what you're saying as read, but let me know. Terry loves watching the Titanic. Do you know what I love about the Titanic movie? It's good, decent film. Good film, very good film. It actually reminds me of all my schoolmates. So I'd left primary school and gone to senior school. And it was a Saturday. One of my most happiest memories as a kid. My best friend at primary school, and we still speak now quite a bit. His name was Branson Williams. He moved to the UK. We were about year 4. So now we're year 7. We're year 4. So I don't know him about 3 years. Branson William. If you're watching, brother, you know how much I love you, your mum, your family. Love. He just turned up at my house. And I always remember he had this new earring in him. I remember my dad was teasing him about it. And I was like, what's up, man? I hadn't seen him for a few weeks because we'd gone to different schools. I don't know what school. I think he went George Mitchell, or he might have gone somewhere else. But he went to a different high school to me. And I was like, yeah, bro, how are you doing? Good. So what are you doing? He goes, we're going to go cinema. I was like, why? He said, we're going to go see Titanic. And I was like, I don't want to see Titanic. All the girls wanted to watch Titanic. I was like, I don't watch Titanic. He's like, no, we're going to go. So we went to the ABC cinema in Walthamstow. I was like, why are we going to watch Titanic? He said, you'll understand when we get there. Brexit! Man was playing 4D chess. So we got the bus, I think we got the 158 bus from Leighton's Walthamstow. And the bus used to go past the cinema and you have to walk back up a little bit. And as we drove past the cinema, he went, that's why we're here. The queue was massive and it was just girls. And he went, it's just girls, Terry, it's just girls. And he went, all the girls from my school were there. And I said, oh, okay. And I knew quite a lot of them because we went to the same primary school. And we sort of didn't push into the line. They saved us a space and we went in and we'd chill with the girls, Nisha and Shanice and everyone else. Rebecca was there, Rachel was there. All my friends from school plus other girls. And honestly, the film was decent. It was long. But then we just spent the whole day before the film, during the film, after all the girls. They were young, by the way. So it wasn't anything crazy. It was just a great day. And that's why I love Titanic. Because every time it comes on TV and I always send a picture when I'm watching it. I normally send to Branson. And I'm like, bro, Titanic. It was such a great day, man. Good times. Yeah, puts a smile on my face thinking about it. Again, for you guys, you're probably thinking, that is a real shit story. It was a great day. It's a great day. But anyway, we'll move on from that. Branson was a legend, man. Absolute legend. One thing I'm gutted about, because I ended up moving away from London, my dad's work changed and we moved, is Branson's mum was planning a trip back to Jamaica and I was going to go with them. I was so excited about going. And it just kind of didn't happen because I moved. I think they moved as well. They moved further into London and I moved to Essex. But yeah, still speak to my man. He's a great guy, man. Both of us, we're obsessed with the Mighty Ducks movies. So he also got me into like ice skating and like roller skating and rollerblading and play street hockey, which I love. It was great. He got me into all that, man. Yeah, good times. Good times. Moving on from this, we're going to take calls on these subjects soon as well. But I want to speak about Chelsea. I want to speak about this Chelsea situation because a lot of people are not aware of it. And I think that was a little bit disconcerting for me that this hasn't been discussed enough. Equally, I think Chelsea are going to get misrepresented in this. So I saw some headlines today. Chelsea hit by UEFA ruling. What was the actual? I'm going to read the actual tagline here from the newspaper article I read. Chelsea face painful transfer decision as new UEFA rules bite. And I thought, oh my God, what's happening to Chelsea? So I read the articles and did some research into it. So let's contextualize this all for a moment. Is this open or shut? Let me open this. I need some tea. So, as we all know, Chelsea Football Club were fined by UEFA in around April time. And they were fined £26.8 million, that potentially rising to 78 million for breaching spending rules in a nutshell. Now, the fines look big, but the fines, and this is what I read before, the fines don't count towards future financial accounting. So say they make a loss of 78 million pounds because they're fined 78 million pounds, that's deducted from FFP calculations. So it won't impact them. They won't get into more trouble because of those fines, which is absolutely right. Otherwise, a team could never get, once you get one big fine, you'd never be able to get out of that cycle. So, I mean, that just means that Chelsea's ownership can swallow it as a one-off cost. But the real problem this article draws on is the conditions that were attached to that settlement, okay? So, Chelsea can only lose under FFP rules, a maximum of £4.3 million in the 26-27 season, okay? And must break even in the 27-28 season. There's essentially, according to UEFA, zero margin for error if revenues don't increase, okay? They'll have no financial room to maneuver whatsoever, according to this article. Now, what does this mean? This means that Chelsea could be forced into selling some players they don't want. It certainly means they have to have a couple more summers because they're going to have to buy players. They're going to have more summers like the one we've just seen where they're raising £300+ million in sales. That is going to have to happen. That is going to have to continue. Now a lot of their strategy is starting to make sense why they have to sell so well. They can't be making book losses on players. So it's great. Bought this player for 10 million, selling him for 20. Bought this player for 20, selling him for 40. The problem comes with players, for instance, that they might bring in for 50, 60, 70 million that they're now looking to sell 2 or 3 years later, where they might owe 30 million on them. Because yes, they might get 50 million. They might get 30, 40, 50 million, but that isn't all pure profit. They're not doubling their asset because they still owe considerable amounts of money on these individuals. So some will say, Terry, this is fear mongering though. Chelsea made £128 million profit last year. So they're going to be okay. And that's what my first thought was. Well, I read the article and hang on. Chelsea are fine. They make massive sales. They're back in the Champions League. There's the World Club Cup money as well. They're going to be okay. This is fear-mongering 101. 100%. This is bullshit. And then I started reading more. And I want to say this now, and I want to say this directly. I am not making a claim that Chelsea Football Club are going to 100% be in financial mire. I'm not making that claim because their owners have been probably the most creative and innovative in circumventing financial difficulties the club has had. They are also back in the Champions League. And I think most of us believe they're going to continue to be in the Champions League for the foreseeable. The World Club Cup money is brilliant for this financial year, but it's 1 year. And it's about it's about getting towards breaking even every year. Well, in 2026-27, they've got to make they can only make a loss of 4.3 million max. Now, the money from the Club World Cup is not going to help them in that season. It's already gone. It'll be spent. It'll be out of the process. It's breaking even, though, the year after that is slightly problematic. Where the nervousness for me kicked in is that UEFA have rejected the sale of their women's team as viable income. So UEFA has not allowed Chelsea to count the 200 million sale of the women's team or the sale of the 2 hotels to sister companies as legitimate income. So as a result, Chelsea's actual 3-year loss stands at approximately 358 million, which exceeds UEFA's allowable threshold of 200 million euros, about 170 million pound. That is where the fines have come in. But of course, now what's happening is there is new rules where they've got to be essentially within 3 years, 2 years from now, breaking even. So yes, last year, their profits were about 128 million pound, which is unprecedented for a football club to make that amount of profit. But it's not recognized by UEFA's rules. So what Chelsea have got to do, now this is why I'm saying there's still an element of fear-mongering, a scaremongering, and I want to be really fair and balanced in this. If Chelsea maintain a position in the Champions League, and if Chelsea don't have to spend 300 or 400, 500 million more on players in the next 2 years, and they continue to sell at a very high rate, they're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. The problems for Chelsea will amount if they are, one, failing to qualify for Europe or the Champions League rather than Europe, or if the team starts to struggle and they've got to invest more money, and or if they're not able to have as good a summers of selling, because they've got to be able to break even in a couple of years' time. And this is my view on this. And I don't want Chelsea fans to get angry. I'm not trying to, bottom line is, UEFA have rejected and made a definitive decision and don't accept a lot of Chelsea's new ways of making money and revenues, which is why, by the way, when as a United fan, I'm like, just sell the women's team. Well, if we sell the women's team, this is why you can't just do it, okay? And this is why sometimes, this is where I get angry at Sky Sports, TalkSport, TNT Sports. They spend no time educating football fans on the reality of football finance. Because what have Man United fans been saying all summer? I've said it. And I should have done more research. I'm as guilty as anybody else, by the way. I'm not sitting here on my ivory tower going, oh, I knew this already. I didn't. I've said we should sell our women's team. The problem is that could end up and that could put us in deeper trouble. Because if Man United sell our women's team for £200 million, and then we spend that whole £200 million buying new players, paying off some of the debt, we might then go, well, look, we ended up making only a loss of 50 million. So we comply with FFP. Not if UEFA remove that 200 million of revenue from the sale and go, well, actually, if you remove that 200 million, you actually made a loss of 250 million. There's a big fine. Or because you knew that now clubs know that the revenue is not going to be recognized by UEFA, you've done it deliberately. You've lost. UEFA are not stupid. They're going to go, well, you've made that loss deliberately. You've deliberately made that loss because you've created a false revenue, as we see it, to buy more players. You've directly cheated. You could find teams that now sell their women's teams, if they then make losses, could find themselves in a situation where UEFA ban them. So now you're making these losses, right? You've got fines coming, which yes, won't impact your FFP status, but you've still got to pay the fine, right? You've still got that cash still comes out your business. Then you're not allowed in Europe. You could be in much bigger trouble. And that's we've got people like Borson. There's obviously Kieran Maguire. That's fantastic. You even have someone like Simon Jordan who owned a football club. Simon Jordan, who should understand this. I still hear them talk about net spend, which, listen, the revenue you bring in through the sale of players is very important to understand. I wouldn't use the phrase net spend, but they always try and make things sound basic. They always try and make things sound really simple and easy and things are okay. As a Chelsea fan, I'm not saying you should panic. I'm not saying, Chelsea are doomed. They're finished. I'm not making that claim at all. This is something that Chelsea fans should be on. They should be putting massive pressure on their club over, because there is no point building something that feels like it's going to become special just for it to be ripped away. A £27 million fine that it could raise to 80, but £27 million fine for breaching the rules. It is a little bit of a drop in the ocean, but it's the attached rules that have now been applied to Chelsea that have got to be concerning. Now, yes, the revenue from the sale of the players this summer is amazing, and that is going to help them massively in the 25-26 trading accounts. It is. That being said, Chelsea have increased, have spent a lot of money as well on new players as an example, which I think is important to, at the very least, recognize. So as they go into the next year, though, the 26-27 year, they can make no more than 4.3 million losses, which means, again, and I'm just throwing this out there, they're not going to be able to selling assets, selling land. None of that's going to help them with FFP. How do they keep this squad together without increasing their salaries in the next 2 or 3 years? I don't think they can. Chelsea are going to have to increase what they're paying Palmers, Enzos, Caicedos. They're too good not to. Doesn't matter how long their contracts are. They're going to have to increase how much they pay them. The fear factor, the concern element is in doing that is if you also have to buy new players and if you're not maximizing the sales area. Remember, they've got to make no more than 4.3 losses, and they have to legitimately, in 3 seasons' time, completely break even, which means not a penny of a loss, as they can find themselves with even bigger sanctions, which would be devastating for the football club. So as I say already, and I'll make sure I say this for the 4th or 5th time, because I want to be very fair and balanced with this. Are Chelsea in dire straits? Are Chelsea about to collapse? Are Chelsea about to go out of business? Are they being run, quote unquote, badly? No. But should Chelsea fans, should the supporters groups, should they be on the owner's back for quarterly, 6-monthly updates on where they sit in being ready for this? Should you be taking a closer look at the numbers and the details? Don't just go the net spend nonsense, because that isn't going to help you. What's the actual revenue looking like? What are the new sponsorship deals looking like? What are the salary? And there's a little example of this, right? So if we go to Chelsea profit and loss stats, right? So we'll give you an example of this. There's a website that does this very, very well. If I can find them, here we go. Chelsea's total revenues, right? So Chelsea's total revenue up until 3 seasons ago, around 546 million. So they normally in that, it's probably gone up from there now. The turnover has probably gone up for Chelsea. But you've got to remember, when they made 100, the 200 million they added for the sale of assets and the 80 million for the sale of, all that's irrelevant. What you've got to be looking at is their commercial revenue as a business, ticket sales, etc., shirt sales, sponsorships, and then TV revenue. They're the only things that the commercial revenues include the sale of players. They're the only things that UEFA will consider as genuine revenue. So you could sell everything you could sell things for £1 billion and have 2 billion of income. They're gonna discount all of that. Chelsea fans have just got to stay close to this. Yes, defend your club. Yes, push back against nonsense that you're about to go bust or any crap like this. You're not even cheating, by the way. There's no cheating going on here. It's not an allegation of cheating. But I think Chelsea fans have got to stay close to this. You've just got to make sure that financially your club is being managed correctly. Don't just drink the Kool-Aid, push, because your club's future could be at stake if things aren't being done properly. Do me a favor, please, and hit the like button. Make sure you are subscribing. Make sure the bell notification button is also turned on as well. This just timestamp where we put that in, because I like people sometimes just like watching specific sectors of the show. Let's go back to your comments here that have come through during that period. Okay, you guys. Sometimes I've got to read your comments and I realize you're fighting with each other. Gav here says, need to sort out our shirt sponsorship. Pounds lost each year. Now, Gav, you're absolutely right, man. You've absolutely got to sort that out. You really, really do. And I think that would be an area that I'd have slight concern over. Is things like those sponsorships. And don't be gaslit either. I remember when you guys were getting a new arm sleeve sponsor, and everyone's like, we've got a new £20 million arm sleeve sponsor. We're going to be cool. Yeah, it was replacing the previous one that was like 18.5 million. It's like, it was an increase and everything else. And I remember saying to people like, Chelsea will find a way through this. But it turns out that they've found a way through it by means that UEFA isn't recognizing. UEFA is getting tough with this stuff. And then, by the way, this is not even a dig at Chelsea. UEFA would like nothing more than to hurt Premier League teams. UEFA hate how powerful and rich the Premier League is, and they will go out their way to hurt us. They really, really will go out of their way to hurt us. I clicked on the wrong thing there. Whiplash is a Coach Carter level film. Well, Coach Carter, I mean, you could look at the way Coach Carter treated those lads. You know, they didn't like it. Their parents complained. Some people would say that. Some people would call that bullying in 2025. I think the way he treated them young men made them have better lives. made them have better lives. What happens to the charges when they grass themselves up for cheating? Nothing's happened. There's been no update on that for a while now. I think they're close to a decision. They're just going to end up being fined. But that's also it, right? So they get fined for that. That could impact them with UEFA. So there's all these things going on in the background that football fans... I saw a Palace fan the other day going viral for saying that I'm not an accountant, I don't care about the accounts. I'm like, football fans should care about this part of their club. I wonder if Rangers fans took more care in their club's finances, or Portsmouth fans earlier. I wonder if their clubs have almost gone out of existence. I wonder if Bury fans were a little bit closer to things and cared more about the accounts, whether they've stayed in business. It's exceedingly important. Exceedingly. Let's have a little look at some more of your comments here. Chelsea have been cleared for this 2 days ago. We have to stay in this parameter for one more year. What do you mean Chelsea have been cleared for this 2 days ago? Cleared of what? Cleared of what? This article has just come out today. So I want, again, educate me on it. Like, tell me what you mean. To be honest, YouTubers like Terry should really start providing their context from which articles they are talking about. Until that's, let's be honest, it's all rubbish. We talk about the context. I literally told you, I broke down the article. I told you what it said, gave you my opinion. It's where can you read this stuff? You can read it on the BBC, you can read it in the Times, you can read it on Reuters, and there's also an article that's come out today from Sam Cunningham and in the iPaper Sport. So that's the context of it, but it was completely broken down what we were speaking about, my friend. Absolutely weirdest comment ever. Weirdest comment I've ever heard in my life. No team should be selling the women's team, including United. I've got no problem with it per se. But the problem is with when you in life, typically when you why are you using loopholes generally in life? You got to ask yourself that question. Funny if this is the case. Funny if this is the case. As clever as Chelsea owners thought they were finding loopholes, does UEFA sanctions only apply if you play in Europe? Yes, but what could happen, for instance, is Chelsea could qualify for the Champions League, but then be kicked out of it. So that would damage them massively because you wouldn't get the Champions League income. So, for instance, let's say they start increasing the salary of players, they invest more money. They bring in new players that are earning more money because they're now challenging for titles and challenging for Champions Leagues. And then they don't break even in 3 years' time. And UEFA says, we're kicking you out. But now their wage structure has gone up. The bills have gone up. But the income now reduces again. They're not going to be able to fix it by selling assets because UEFA won't recognize it. So it doesn't mean they'll go out of business because you're allowed to sell your assets as a company in the UK. There's no laws against it. But if Chelsea can't get themselves back, if they ever got kicked out of Europe for not complying, the only way they could ever qualify again is organically growing their revenue in a way that UEFA recognizes, and not by making losses. So Chelsea and Villa have now got a sanction against them, which means they don't have the same tolerance. Part of their punishment for breaking the rules is they don't have the same tolerance levels that Man United, that Liverpool, that Real Madrid have. So Man United and Real Madrid and Chelsea and Liverpool could lose £170 million and still play in Europe. Chelsea within 3 years' time have to break even. So what you're risking is not being able to play in Europe. And of course, that is worth, via TV money and everything else, it's worth hundreds of millions across all revenue streams of income. And it's only going to get higher. And if you're not playing in UEFA's competitions, you're probably not going to go to the Club World Cup. You might do, you might not. depends on what's going on. So although I do think they'll invite back defending champions, that would not make sense not to, if we're being honest. But yes, it's something Chelsea fans should be aware of and should be talking about and making sure it's okay by pushing for information. Bowley suggested playing 12 men. Okay, I'm not reading that one out. I thought it was going to be funny. Classic fear-mongering, Terence. Well, see, Mike, this isn't classic fear-mongering because I've also presented in the opening 15, 20 minutes talking about this story, the other side and how Chelsea will be okay. And I literally said this isn't about fear-mongering. All I've stated is that Chelsea fans have to be close to this because we've had it in my group chat to the likes of Ches, that when you've sold your assets has gone, see, I knew my club would get out of this financial hole. Oh, so you now admit there was a financial hole. Yes, but we found a way out of it. You haven't found a way out of it with UEFA. UEFA, the Premier League have said it's okay to sell your assets. UEFA have said you can't do that. It's something you guys, if you love your club, you should be pushing. Don't have to say it publicly, but you should be pushing for your club to make sure it's in the right space. If you love your football club, you do it 110%. It's a bit like someone at school, saying, one of your kids has got a few little problems, few little temper problems, and you're going, you don't talk about my kids. My kid's fine. I love my kids. A great kid. You're just fear-mongering. You might say that publicly to defend them, but you want to be keeping an eye on that temper. Otherwise, you might be visiting your kid in prison when they're older. Like, end of the day, take it whichever way you want. You are spreading false information. Chelsea are at zero risk of being kicked out. The punishment is a fine and not registering new signings. Again, you are absolutely at risk in the future if you are not complying with their rules. You are absolutely at risk if UEFA removing you from its competitions. That absolutely could happen, depending on how bad it's. Again, if you've got to break even, but you lose £5 million, are they going to kick you out of Europe? No, it'll be another fine. Should you lose 50 million? Should you lose 100 million? Should you lose 200 million? The results could be, they could add punishments onto the top of it. So the act of this couldn't happen is absolutely crazy. Crazy. And you can read all of this on the BBC, Reuters, The Times. I've sat there and just read it all. So you're absolutely right. It may lead to just more fines, but it's all about the severity. It's all about the severity. But still, it won't just be fines forever. Otherwise, what's the point of it? If it's just fines, then why would anybody comply with it? What would be the point of ever complying with FFP? If all they were going to do is give you a 20 million fine here and a 20 million pound fine there. Make that make sense to me. This is what the article says as well. So it says long-term vulnerability. It says this is what I want to speak. This is what the article speaks on. It says UEFA will be auditing Chelsea and Everton, by the way, every 6 months. That means no hiding or creative accounting. He says if Chelsea fail again, sanctions could escalate, like squad restrictions or even bans. He says given their current strategy of spending huge on long contracts, it's very risky. That's what the article alludes to and speaks on. So again, when people like yourself say pure speculation, it's not about speculation. It's about what's happened before, the rulings that are in place, and Chelsea have got to be careful. Now, you may think you don't have to be careful, and that's fine. I think if you continue to improve as a team, start winning trophies again, maintain a Champions League position because of the revenue, I think Chelsea are going to be okay. But it's certainly worth talking about at the very least. It seems like all these rules and regulations are being set up just for the organizations to be able to bleed money from clubs as opposed to punish them. I think it's a really good point there, the Don's Apprentice. I'd rather see clubs banned from Europe than fined. I really would. I'd like to see teams punished rather than financially punished, because I feel like, where's that money going? Just into UEFA's back pocket? It's kind of funny. So in summary, Terry, just speculating. No, I'm talking about credible articles from Reuters, The Times, the BBC, and from financial experts such as Kieran Maguire, who understand these things. And based on what UEFA have said, UEFA have not speculating when they've said that if Chelsea foul, depending upon the size of the failure, sanctions will escalate which includes fines, squad restrictions, and potential bans. That's not speculation. It's the ruling. Again, why are you popping at me for speaking about the facts? This is not what UEFA have said isn't objective. Isn't subjective. It's objective. It's there. International break equals Chelsea financial articles. These articles were written in April and in July, and it was a Chelsea account that shared this most recent one. So, yeah, it is what it is. So I get your point that you do sometimes you see these stories more in international breaks, but that's because there's less other things to talk about. But these articles were also written in the first one. I went back to reference. They was written on the 2nd of April. So that wasn't during an international break. Or was it? Was it an international break then? I don't think so. The next one I read in Reuters was on the 4th of May and then the 5th of July. So again, I get where you're coming from. I get your frustration. But what you're saying isn't strictly true. And if you're not worried, then you don't need to be worried, mate. It's up to you. Hold up, Terry. I was taking the same line as you now at the time that UEFA fined Chelsea. You yourself said Chelsea would be fine. Glad you now read an article pointing out my fears at the time. Listen, but it's about new information. So what we didn't know at the time that they were fined Chelsea back in April when they were fined, it wasn't decided at that point. There wasn't a definitive decision as far as I read as to whether or not, it says here that yes. So this on the 2nd of April on the BBC, it says Chelsea have announced pre-tax profits of 100 something million pounds. It went on to say that UEFA have not have said that they will assess the sale of the women's team. So when we were speaking about this back in April, UEFA said they were assessing it. My assumption, which was wrong, is I thought that UEFA would accept it, and I thought Chelsea would be fine. But now I've read more, they haven't. I missed this story in the summer. A lot of transfers going on. But yeah, it's definitely worth talking about. It'd be crazy not to talk about it. It's massive. It's massive. It's massive. Now that the footballing authorities have no interest in actually regulating the sport, as kicking big teams out of tournaments means less TV and ad revenue. I agree with you. I agree with you on that. Terry, Chelsea and Man City should have been in the National League South and been forced to sell their players ASAP. It depends if they're innocent or guilty. Terry, I didn't say it's just fines. It's also not registering new players as part of the actual sanctions stated anything about being kicked out. Well, not according to what I've read on Reuters, my friend. But either way, still damaging for you. Like, let's just say Reuters have got it wrong, and therefore I, by proxy, have it wrong. It's still massively damaging. And forget this. I mean, you're focusing on, well, I didn't read that bit and you read that different. Let's just put that aside. The only big statement I've actually made is you fans should be on your club, not on my neck, not on Reuters' neck, on your club's neck to make sure that it absolutely fixes all of these things. That should be where all your energy and focus is, not, Terry, I didn't read that in this article. I read something different. I heard something different. That's fine. We can have those conversations. You know, I'll concede some things, you'll concede others. Nothing changes in reality, though. Chelsea have got to be on this and their fans have got to be on their neck, because selling assets and using loopholes is not going to fix it this time, because UEFA have ruled against that. Weird how the Premier League and UEFA have different sets of guidelines for FFP. Surely it would make sense. Oh, listen, Nicholas, you're spot on. It would make sense for them all to be the same. It really would. FIFA, UEFA, FA should all be the same. Should all be the same. We should get rid. For me, if I had a magic wand, I'd get rid of all the loophole nonsense. I'd get rid of multi-club ownership. I'd get rid of my club, by the way, does these things too. I'd get rid of every single element of it and make it so much more basic. I would put in a cap on spending to protect football clubs, and it's based upon the revenues that you have. But I would only allow revenues that are based on TV revenue, ticket sales, and sponsorships. And I would only allow up to a certain percentage. And what clubs would have to show is what their penalties on those sponsorship deals are should they not qualify for Europe and things. So, for instance, say Man United are getting 50 million a year for a shirt sponsor, but if we're out the Champions League for 2 years, that drops down to 30 million. We should only be allowed to spend up to 80% of that 30 million. That way the club is always protected financially from overspending. I would really govern the clubs hard, because my key objective is stopping football clubs from going out of business. That should actually be the regulators' key focus. Isn't growing the sport per se, isn't making it the best and most exciting league in the world. I think the governing body, their biggest priority should be the fans and making sure not one of our football clubs goes bust. They should protect us. They really, really should. In the same, my arse and delusion, EPL's interest is the league, UEFA's interest is European League, and the PL. Yeah, no, I hear you on that. Their interests are for what they want. It isn't about the clubs. So I do agree that I don't necessarily think all these rules and regulations are about just protecting clubs. A lot of it can be a bit self-serving, and that's why they need to do a better job. That's why American sports have salary caps. Yeah, and look, I think there's an element of that I agree with. Terry, what about if the owner? Yeah, look, we've had this before. If the owners put like all the exposure, they put all that cash into a big pot so that the clubs are protected. I'm all for it. But you've got to ask yourself the question, why do these billionaires never do that? It's a great suggestion, but the people that have the power to do that don't suggest it. That tells me they don't want to do it. That tells me they don't want to, that even someone who's worth 20, 30, 40 billion, they don't want to free up 4, 5, 6 billion pound in cash and give it to the Premier League. They don't want to do it. They won't do it. They'd refuse to do it. Every day of the week, they'd go, not on your Nelly, 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 not on your Nelly. They'd say no. Terry, tell what Terry, Leeds fans do keep on top of the finances after what happened to us. I bet you do. Rich, because you've been through it. You understand it. You've seen it. I'm probably sensitive to it because of what Leyton Orient went through, and I saw what my brothers went through. And they went through this, oh my God, we're going to become a Champions League team. Because their owner came in, their billionaire owner came in. I can't remember his name. Leyton Orient's billionaire owner. What was his fucking name, this mug? No, not the guy they've got now. Let me find them. I want to say it was Italian. When he came in, I think his name was something. Berecci was his name. Yeah. So Francisco Berecci. What was his net worth? It's worth a lot of money, right? His net worth was... Anyway, I can't find it now. But it was worth hundreds and hundreds of millions and millions of pounds. Hundreds and hundreds of millions. And he had billions in assets. And when he came into Orient, he told Leyton Orient, I'm going to make you a Champions League team. And the fans got excited. And the first thing he started doing, he started getting championship players and was paying them 30, 40 grand a week to come play League One, which was crazy. The club was losing money hand over fist, and they got excited. And they stopped looking. They stopped focusing. Oh, we're going to be great. And I don't know, it lasted a year, 18 months. And then he basically started going, I'm not doing it anymore. And tried getting rid of all the players, but they didn't want to leave. Wouldn't buy any new players. They ended up playing a bunch of kids, got relegated twice, and nearly went out of business. And they had all this debt and winding up orders, and nearly out of business. And this was with debts that were only like 20 or 30 million or something, maybe even not that much. I have to go back and reread it, but it was small in comparison to the debt that would be. Imagine a club like Newcastle's owners when we're going to spend whatever it takes to like sign the Mbappes and the Haalands and we're going to make a super team. You're probably going to see a wage bill of, I don't know, let's just say the average player's on, say, 500 grand a week to convince them to join. This say averages out at that, and you've got 23-man squad, right? That's like £11.5 million a week. You do that over the course of a year, you're talking about £500 million in salary, right? You times that over, say, a 5-year period of their contracts, it's 2.9 billion. You've got to remember Newcastle's turnover is only like 300 million a year. Plus they've got to buy the players, agent fees. You're talking about debts, because they are debts once they're employed by you. You're talking about debts of 2 to 3 billion, right? And that will just escalate. You've seen clubs nearly go out of existence because of 10s and 20s and 30, 40 million pounds worth of debts when owners lose interest, pass away, wars break out, etc. Imagine What would happen if it was billions of pounds? This is where people are just, I'm sorry to use this word, it's where people are just as thick as shit when it comes to this stuff. And if no, that won't happen to us. Yeah, Portsmouth thought that, Rangers thought that, Leyton Orient thought that, and the list goes on and on and on and on. It's absolutely imperative that these protections are in place. And clubs that have been through it get it. And are like, yeah, we need to. I saw a Villa fan. No, it was Consa, Villa player. Our financial, for the financial rule stopped us from moving forward this year. Listen, bro, your club spent 90 odd percent, high 90 percentages of your income on salaries last year. You want to keep doing that. You want to put the club's future at risk. Because what happens if you have another year of spending at that level and buying players? What if you spent another 150 million pound on players, right? And spent most of your turnover on salary again? Yeah, you might end up getting into the Champions League. You might end up increasing your revenues that way. What if it fails and it's 2 years running where you're making hundreds of millions of pounds worth of losses? Maybe your owners can write it off, but you're going to be in trouble when it comes to FFP and PSR anyway. There's fines that could come, points deductions that could come. What happens if you do 3 years of that, 4 years of that console? You're being played as a player. You're fine. What happens if after 3 or 4 years of it not working, the owner goes, I ain't doing it anymore? Well, hang on a minute. The club's made 800, 900 million pounds of losses in the last few years, is indebted up to its eyeballs because of the contracts the players are on. The owner's going to pull the plug financially or walk away. Unless you get another multi-billionaire that's willing to keep spending like that, you're in trouble because you don't have the organic income and club size to cope with what you've created. So what ends up happening is all your assets as in players get stripped and sold elsewhere. The squad's in turmoil. There's no money left to spend. You end up getting relegated. Now, you might be able to stabilize through selling people and moving on. But if the debts are massive, if you still owe so much money, you could end up dropping right down the ladder. You can go out you could go out of business. If you suddenly, what if the owner goes, I'm not even paying the players their wages? Then you can start going into administration. We absolutely cannot advocate for clubs spending all their income on salary for players, all of it, and then plus spending 100, 200 million a year on players. We can't advocate for that behavior. Anyone who's saying that doesn't love their football club. You think you love your football club because you're just thinking, oh, the money will always be here. Remember this? My mum taught me this saying as a kid: easy come, easy go. When the money your football club is spending has come easy because an owner has gone, I'm just going to spend it, it can go that quickly as well. Easy come, easy go. Be very careful what you wish for because we're opening up the hen house to a wolf. Not even a fox, to a wolf. We've got to be so careful indeed. But it's okay for you. Your club makes this kind of money. Yeah, grow it organically. Spurs have. Look what Spurs have done in the last 15 years. Look at the growth in revenue of Tottenham Hotspur. Let's actually have a look at this, right? So Tottenham revenue last 10 years. Look at it. Okay. Let me find the right website that shows this stuff brilliantly. Here we go. From 2008 until 2004. In 2008, their annual revenue was about 120 million a year. It's now up to nearly 600 to 700 million a year. They've organically grown as a football club in that time. Let's actually look at Aston Villa, right? So let's look at Aston Villa, 10 years revenue. I don't think their revenue 10 years ago would be too different from each other. I bet there's a closeness if I can find. Why don't? Here we go. Is this each year or just this year? Okay, it's not going to let me go back that far. Why don't they have them on? This website doesn't always do it for everybody. Sorry, let me see if I can find it. On that website, let's see if I can search it, but change Tottenham to Aston Villa. Bear with me a sec, people. I bet Villa weren't that far behind Tottenham's anyway. No, they don't. It's not, oh, hang on. No. Let me see if I can find this. Sorry, people, because this is really important. Aston Villa revenue 2008. Let's just type that in and see what it comes up as. Okay, a little bit less to be fair. 91 million. Around 91 million. So, but you're only talking a difference of about 30 million. And Spurs are a bigger club. 30 million difference. If you look at it, though, now, so this is the difference. In 2024, the last trading accounts given in by Villa. Now, it will go up for the last season because they win the Champions League, but it was 276 million. So theirs has gone from about 80 to 90 to 276. Tottenham have gone from 120 odd to nearly 700 million. And that has been because they've organically grown themselves, which means it's sustainable. They now need to probably start spending a little bit more. That's how you do it. So if Spurs can grow like that, why can't Villa and Newcastle? But FFP, well, Spurs were making 120 million a year. They're now making nigh on 700 million. They did have Champions League a few times in that, but not all the time. How have Spurs done it? How have City done it? If City didn't cheat, but FFP holds you back. It's a lie. What people want is easy come, easy go money. I want it now. I want it now. We've got an owner that's going to spend it now. You should be asking for it to be grown organically. It means you can have it forever, not just whilst you've got this owner. But that's just me. Look, I want to thank you all very, very much for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys being here on a Saturday afternoon. We're going to be live after England play today to have a little review of that game. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all back here then. Do me a favor before you leave, though, and hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribing and get that bell notification button turned on. Very, very important indeed. Until next time, people, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you soon. Peace.